I'm live. I wish I knew what I was going to talk about. So I'll just wait a second while some people can join in. Then I'll be repetitive. So as people join, they can hear my tremendous thoughts. I don't know if I sit back. I guess that's better. I'm in my hotel room because if I go anywhere else, it'll be too loud. Hang on one second. Hello? I'm in my hotel. Yeah, I know. And I'm going to meet Greg at the Westin at some point. What are you doing? Well, I'm going to go to the game with him, and then I don't, but I don't think we're going to stay there long. So if you want to meet after that, I can, or I don't know, maybe he'll invite you. I don't know if what's. All right, all right. I'll talk to him. I'll talk to him. Well, I'm going to be on a call. I wanted to take a nap, but I'm going to be on a call, and then uh, yeah, when I see him, uh, I'll recommend that. And then otherwise, I don't think we'll be there long. So later on, if you want to, well, we're not going to be. He already told me we're not going to stay for the whole game. So I, all right, all right, all right. We'll see. We'll talk to you later then. All right. Cheers. Cheers. Bye. Sorry about that. Um, my tremendous thoughts. Oh my gosh. Now you've got me on a pressure cooker, a pressure cooker. I, I was going to go down to the very nice area, but I'd have to talk to you on an earpiece, and there's other people around. So I'm in my hotel room. Um, I thought it would be nice so you could see the Four Seasons across the way, but I don't know if that sunlight. It was too dark otherwise. Anyway, we'll go with what it is. Um, I'm in Denver, and it's been tremendous. I think I warned you that I might be going, but it's been a tremendous conference. The I got it wrong. I thought it was more, but this was their 30th, the 30th conference that they've had. It just ended, and uh, it's they trademarked it, the oil and gas conference. 30 of them. I think I've gone to 27. I might be lying. It might be only 26, but I've been to every one, and it's great to be here. Um, we can talk about that in a bit, but everything cycles. I've told you that with uh, mining and oil and gas, and it's probably going to be true with the AI space. And there's evidence of that. 2 or 3 years ago, I could have brought, and I tried to, but I could bring deals where money could come in alongside the the principles, and you develop a field and you get the 10x or whatever the target was. Now already there's a bunch of it's all private equity, and they come in, they're sponsored by somebody out of New York, and they tell a story. It's a great story. And it used to be, you go to the breakout room and you say, "Hey, I liked your story. Are you looking for money? How, what?" But as soon as they get to the punchline of the story, they're already they're already $1.5 billion in market cap, and it's just a different world. And so now we're not quite there yet that you're shut out of everything, but now the way to get into oil and gas is through somebody else has the deal and you just come in as an investor. So frustrating, but it's not 100% true. But man, they've taken up a lot of the plays. It's always a cycle like that, and it's hard to teach people about it. Anyway, let's talk about these things. I've tried to be a little bit up to date on these other stocks. Just looking at the 4 on my list here, the 5 of them. Railtown closed slightly up, but still, I'm sure everybody's a little disappointed that it's only 53 cents. I'll come back to that in a second. Finger Motion, I guess, I don't know. It's down 3 cents in the aftermarket. It's $1.57, so it's up somewhat from when I left DC. Mountain, whatever that is, M10. I guess it was down today. It's up a penny in the aftermarket at 10.90. G-Bucks, I would assume, is just flat at 83 cents. Maybe it's a little strong. I don't know. Someone told me the stock ALTS, that's down aftermarket. I don't know anything about it, but and then Energy Vault was up 18 cents today, down now a little bit at 162. We should talk a little bit about not that stock specifically, but energy storage. Guys, there's things coming that are pretty amazing. I heard the CEO of Northwest Bio died, and of course I remembered that Tilo CEO died, and I won't tell you where my conspiratorial brain went, but I'm sorry to hear that for him and his family. The stock is down somewhat, but holding up. That's tough news for him, dedicating his life to that. What else? I don't see any other. Oh, Quantum. Quantum is 1887. I have no idea how high that was. And yeah, I mean, that's enough of the other stocks. So let's get to Railtown. Railtown, the volume was 150,000 on the over-the-counter. Now, I just want to show you something. It doesn't help in terms of the price per se, but if you look at the Canadian stock price, it closed at 73 cents. Well, I'm not sure that's the closing. Yeah, okay. So the last trade was at 3.35 in Canada, and that's the closing price, 73 cents. The volume was 43,000, not very much in Canada. But if you take that 73 cents and you just Google it, you just write 0.73 and then you write CAD, it'll show CAD to US dollars, and you click that. And at 73 cents, the conversion from the loonie to the greenback it should be trading at 52.62. So I would submit to you that a lot of the volume could be just I don't know if it's an arbitrage, but an offset to the Canadian price. So where did it close? 53.27, and what should it be? The US dollar to Canadian dollar right now? 52.62. So it actually closed a little bit higher. Um, I don't know any specifics for Railtown. Uh, I would point out that I don't know, 3 weeks ago, I mentioned that it might take till September, and then I got a little bit of brushback on that. That hey, it'll be uh, sooner than that. Well, if something doesn't, what's today? Wednesday. So if something doesn't happen Thursday or Friday, we're into the last week of August, and I would say that I probably predicted that somewhat closely. So I wouldn't worry about it. I know it's frustrating, but I really think we have to take the pressure off of ourselves for August. It's vacation. Attorneys take vacations. Other people. It's just how it goes. Um, on the other hand, it might be that the workload is extremely high. We have no way to tell. Um, so it could just be taking longer because it's a lot of work. That's possible. Now, this is an oil and gas conference, but I've got to tell you, not in just a buzz, put it in our title, put it in our presentation way, but AI is huge in the discussions. From the first day, there was somebody from the U.S. Department of Energy. I kind of I got to hear part of it, but I didn't go inside for the lunch. And it was a lot of it was about AI and U.S. energy needs. And then yesterday, the Williams energy company, sorry, spoke. I was at the head table, by the way, because I guess I'm what am I, an eminence grise? Eminence grise. But anyway, it was just because I have white hair. But it was interesting. It was a lot about Chinese. The Chinese have built out their electric capacity, their ability to produce electricity. As the guy said, while we were on the sofa watching TV, over the last 25 years, we've done very little. I'll point out what we've done since George W. Bush and the neocons. We've bombed the heck out of a desert. We've assaulted a mountain in Afghanistan. We've injured and maimed a lot of people, women and children. Men don't count, of course. And we probably killed a lot of people too. And we spent, because of George W. Bush's brain trust, the neocons, and since we've spent probably $7 or $8 trillion, probably at the behest of Israel. I'm sorry to say it, but it could be that it's the other way around. But it's all the neocons. And what have we got to show for it? So we squandered, and I'm not even getting into the cost of our soldiers' lives and health, but we squandered at least $8 trillion, and it's probably more now. While China built out its electric capacity, and this guy, he didn't make that point. That's my point. His point is that China has built out their electric grid. He had a chart. I don't have it, but it's gigantic, the lead they have over us. And but they talked about AI and data centers yesterday and then today. And there are technology companies helping oil and gas. I just saw another one today, helping oil and gas companies, small to large, with their field operations, it's all AI. It's all AI. And I read today, I think, I'm a little bit tired. I should be taking a nap probably. And it might have been yesterday, but I guess NVIDIA sold off. And so the headlines, don't trust the headlines, but the headlines are, oh, there's concern that AI's over with and it's a bubble and all that. Well, it's true. It could be a bubble. We have to be cognizant of that possibility. But we have to pick our point of view. And my point of view is that AI is just beginning. Now, it might not justify the huge multiples that are out there, but oil and gas is adapting AI. And there's a lot of money in oil and gas. And that's just one industry. And what Railtown does, as I understand it, I'm at one of the cocktail parties. I met a guy, he's a geek engineer with a company that he's describing what he does for oil and gas. And it's a platform and all this. And I said, there's a company you need to meet. And he said, well, I'll look it up. My point is that what Railtown's doing on a supra level, best I understand it, it's above all of that. It's not any one industry. It's not any one application. And more than that, even if, let's say, Apple were to buy some of these AI companies, their agents, so that goes into the Apple system, and then whatever, Microsoft buys a different one, so they're competing. I believe, and I think this is how my conversation went with the guy that called me from the company. It's my memory of his answer. I asked him, but I believe Railtown's supra, it's above that. So Railtown's product could, in the example I just gave, would benefit at both Apple and Microsoft. So it's not their target market. If they were acquired, say, by Tesla, they wouldn't be just limited to Tesla. So maybe it's too soon to talk about Railtown being acquired. But my point is, as AI is being adopted by industry after industry, as companies are trying to improve their efficiency, and in oil and gas, it all comes down to your rate of return and your cost of producing oil and et cetera. AI is a big part of it, and I think it's going to benefit Railtown massively. There's huge opportunities in energy too. And unfortunately, I predicted it. I told you guys, and it's not like you could have acted on it because these are mostly private companies. But I told you private equity, as we came around the corner of this year, they were going to start flooding into oil and gas. And boy, they have. They, company after company, like there's an area between the Delaware Basin and the Midland Basin. I guess depending on how you're reading my hands, I might have it upside down. But in between that is this area called the Central Basin Platform, and that was wide open for deals. It's all taken over. They're all come in, and they've gotten the entire Permian locked up now. I was just meeting with an oil guy that I tried to raise money. I brought Chinese investors in, and they ended up investing in another of my projects. This is a while ago, but I just met with him, and it was great to see him. But he said Chevron bought up the whole DJ Basin, basically, and he let his company go, and now he's in real estate. But he's a great guy, but that's what's happening, and that's what's going to give us an opportunity later. I'm not talking about right now, to enjoy a cycle, I believe, in oil and gas that'll last a decade or more. Because a lot of the people that know the fields and the plays are leaving, and now all you have are these cocky young. And I was young once, but everyone up there talking is 35 years old, and they just have all this money they're putting to work, and they telling you how to do it and all this. Well, there's a lot of plays they don't even know about, and the older guys are all leaving or dying, and anyway, it'll mean that there'll come a time where there's a shortage of oil, at least temporarily, but and prices will go up, and then people start drilling again. But there's a lot of good news too in the oil space for America. Anyway, I don't have a different view on Railtown. It's taking a while, but I do bring your attention back to the fact that, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, I said, let's just get ready and assume it's gonna this February 11th the announcement of the MOU to acquire AI Partners. Let's just assume it's going to be first or second week of September, and that takes our pressure off. I noticed Monday and maybe yesterday, my sense of time is off. The shorts were in there playing their games, trying to scare you. But I think you're going to be rewarded quite handsomely by ignoring that gamemanship on their part. There's two types of shorts. There's the bigger players who also sometimes get involved with the fronts, like Lynn Partners is just a front for hedge funds. So there's the ones that short against financings, but there's also just larger players that play every stock to destroy it and take away the market cap. And then there's these other shorts that they sometimes pay to help, but there's these sort of day trading, hyena type shorts that come in and nip at the carcass that the lions have brought down. And they're just in there, they're just annoying. But it's that second set of shorts that do a lot of day trading. And so you could see in a day, like I watched today, just a minute ago, I looked at Railtown. It opened at 54.65. I have no idea how many shares opened up there. But if you assume, let's say they got 10,000 shares off, I'm not saying they did, at almost 54.5 cents, 55 cents, call it 54 cents. And then the low on the day was 51.5 cents. Let's call it 51. If they're able, and I'm not saying it happened today, but if they're able to day trade short it from 54 cents down to 51, you'd say, well, that's not a lot. Well, on 10,000 shares, 3 cents, it's money. And they'll book that all day long. There's money there to be made, they'll take it. And so you've got to fight all that. I know it's tough when you see these other stocks that are supposed to go up going down. Railtown isn't like these other stocks, and it won't be. The key difference, one of the key differences is they don't need capital. I'm sure they'll raise some capital, but they don't need it. So that takes that bigger bunch of shorters out of the picture, maybe. Although it looks like there's a large short position initiated over the last few months. So maybe they're in there for other reasons. But once it's my opinion, I don't have definitive news, but it's my opinion that the Railtown AI acquisition of AI partners is going to be completed. Why do I say that? If it fell through, they would have already announced it. They have to. So, and then of course, the other thing is they made that joint announcement 20 or so days ago, 3, 4 weeks ago, that they're establishing this deal in Dubai, I think it was. But they did a joint announcement. They wouldn't have been doing that unless the companies are going to be joined at the hip in the future. So we're just in a quiet period on Railtown, and I know it's painful that every day our brains are trained to this, every day, hey, it's going to go, but we really got to change that energy uh, uh, in our electricity, our emotions, because Railtown's going to more than reward the wait, in my judgment. And you're going to forget how annoyed you were with waiting once they combine those two companies. And all the information I'm using is, as I've shown you, it's in the public arena. So it's just a matter of putting all that information together and sticking with the logical conclusion that those data points lead to. Coffee never makes me. I'd much rather have a nap, but I figure I should come live for a little while. So I saw, we're not there yet, but I met with one gentleman that I've known for 25 years. He's it's a good old boy network, they say. Well, that's changing. It's becoming, there are a lot of women here that are younger who've been trained. Amazing. So it's going to be a good old boys and girls network probably soon. But he showed me a transaction, which I'm not going to talk about it now, but it's the kind of thing, if we ever had our uplift in Railtown, and hopefully, if there were no reason to still stay in it, it's such a great income producer, monthly income. There's a lot of good ideas there, and it's kind of exciting. I guess all of that's. I had some notes. Oh, here they are over here. Today, there were just some great smaller companies that are looking to raise money. And I'd like to meet with some of them. There was one company, an older guy, he said, I'm just a scientist. We need somebody to show us how to do the business side of it. I might try to call him in the morning, see if I can see him tomorrow. I might do that. I'll make a note of that, because these different companies are raising money, but he's got a technology that what he does, he says that worldwide, I don't know if his number's accurate, but worldwide, the average recovery of original oil in place in a reservoir or in a play in a field, you get 30%. So you leave 70% behind. And his, I'll never be able to explain it, but basically his model is if you change basically the salinity of the water that's in formation, you increase the recovery of oil. And I don't know, maybe it has something to do with surface contact or something. And it was a great story. And they need money. There was a revenue company that needed money. Here's one, Rome AI. His addressable market, 1.3 billion. Smaller. There's another company talking about AI, digital twin. And that what that is, the AI is going to be used. It'll be used for health, but it can be used in the oil field where you set up all the data in a digital twin, and then you can do your experiments on that digital twin, whether it's an oil field or a human being's response to drugs. And so you don't actually literally threaten the life of the patient or of the oil field. You can do the runs there anyway. Big market. It's AI. There was a great company that's taking lithium out of the brine water in wells, and then combining that essentially wastewater with CO2 and re-injecting it, so solving CO2 problem. Another company, a brilliant idea, which I'd like to do, but there's a lot of natural gas flared because there's not enough takeaway. There's not enough capacity with pipelines for natural gas. Oil you can collect in tanks, but natural gas, it's very hard to collect, so they flare it. Well, his whole idea is modular data centers. Bring them there, and initially they're going to mine Bitcoin, but then he's turning it on to what? AI computing power for AI. And it's a huge market. It's the Bitcoin mining, he said, is the 2.1 trillion. I don't, he didn't explain it. I don't know if that's possible, but that's that addressable market. But by the end of this decade, AI infrastructure, I think he said, I can't read my writing, it'll be 1.8 trillion, but by 2033, AI infrastructure will be 4.8 trillion. So it confirms to me a little bit what James Altucher was saying about how AI is going to be huge. Anyway, there's 2 or 3 other companies here. Then they got into nuclear, and I actually talked to one of the CEOs. She didn't like me very much. She said nuclear is safe. I said, is it really? Have you looked up Fukushima? She said, oh, yeah. It's, blah, blah, how many people? Nobody died. I said, yeah. I asked her, would you eat the fish in the Pacific Ocean? Oh, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. So I said, you know what? You did a great presentation. Not gonna get into an argument with you. But there's amazing solutions for storage of nuclear waste now, and even creating nuclear power plants in the deep wells, because drilling technology created by oil and gas industry has gotten so good. You can go down deep and do horizontal wells and store all that nuclear waste and recover it if you need to, but you can store it. That was one company. The other company was you can take a mile deep vertical well, and apparently it's just the right depth that the water that collects in the well is enough. I think, I don't remember, 16 to 1 or something pressure to keep the the reaction that's down there under pressure. If for something goes wrong, all that water will cool it all off. But you don't have to build these big containment units. It's a mile deep, and she thinks it's going to be the answer to our energy grid. Call me skeptical, but everybody there loved it. And then there's another nuclear power plant company that talked at lunchtime, and to hear him say it, we're going to have all the energy, electric energy we need. They don't use water anymore. They use some other thing to cool the plants. And, Trump's saying go full speed ahead. Call me nervous, but I'm not going to be able to stop it. Anyway, so those were some of the things we talked about. And I guess I'll answer some questions. Hey, Fast Eddie, you were number one this time. You were so fast. They turned the light out. You could turn the light out and get in bed before it got dark. Hey, Tebow. Yeah, something happened. The cat. Now, here's the one that puts me under pressure. Catherine says, give tremendous thoughts. Well, you heard some of them. They're not tremendous. Giuseppe, how are you? I've been missed. Well, I keep missing you, but my aim is getting better. It's a country song. Hey, Pat, how are you? PJ, once you're starting to wonder if all was well. Good. Not only is it well, the first getting here, I could barely walk. And then Monday was tough walking, getting to the hotel, getting to the conference and dinner. And then Tuesday, which was yesterday, it was better. Today, I'm not 100%, but I can walk. It's amazing. So that's good. So I am well. Thought maybe I went to Railtown to kick some butt. Well, they wouldn't talk to me right now. I did meet with a company that I'd like. Their funding might be finished, but I'd like to raise a little money about. They're in the AI space. In fact, I'm going to the baseball game tonight with one of the board of directors on that company, a good friend of mine. So I'll get the whole scoop on it. But I would like to, if that announcement ever comes, I'll try to interview the guys at Railtown, or maybe more. By the way, I probably will be able to interview the CEO from Dolly Varden Silver. I have worked on that. I'll find out Friday. But anyway, hey, Darren, I'm looking dapper. Yeah, I don't know. I can barely see myself, all the reflection. I was everyone wanted my picture. No, I'm making that up. There were photographers around, but I was invisible. Hey, Chestnut. Michael, hey, Dad, it's 72. That's awesome. Take advantage. I'm going to write that down. Take advantage of it. I do have a new number, but it's not significantly different. So let's just keep track. And when I get back home, I'll 72 more. That's great, Michael. Good job. Hey, Colby. we, if I'm wrong, don't be mad at me, but we talked a little bit about Louisiana too. Um, yeah, sure, flying bus driver. I'm going to. Uh, I won't tell you exactly what hotel I'm in, but you can probably figure it out if you know Denver. But I'm across the street from the uh, Four Seasons, and the conference was at the Westin, so I'm within walking distance of the Westin downtown. I am. I'm going to the ball game with this guy, but we're not staying late. So he told me we're just going to go for I don't know how long, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 innings. So yeah, I can meet you later on. I haven't eaten dinner. I probably won't eat any crap at the ball field either, but we can meet somewhere for sure. I think you called me when I was in a meeting. I didn't look at my phone. I didn't ignore you, but um, sure, text me. We can meet somewhere for sure, or tomorrow morning. I have an appointment tomorrow that'll probably be 4 or 5 hours. It's about 30 minutes away. I just don't know when it'll be, but I'll probably be free tomorrow evening or in the morning. But tonight I can see you. That'd be fun. Hey Steve, you're gonna be one of the guys. I've got so much information. Steve's asking where he's based. Flying bus driver says, I'm based in Boston. Please come to Boston. She just said, no, boy, won't you come on home to me? Please come to Boston for the springtime. Hey, Jack Hamilton. Oh, by the way, flying bus driver, if you want to go to the game, we're going to meet at the Westin and walk over. We're just buying tickets at the ticket window. Shohei Ohtani's pitching tonight, so it might get a little crowded. But the Rockies, it's a beautiful stadium, but the Rockies are so bad. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of seats. Brandon Neely, it's good to see my face. I can't face my face. Been worried about you. Railtown is in a quiet period, just sitting idle. Yeah, that's not a bad analogy that we're sitting in neutral and it's going to go into gear. It's not a bad analogy. I think that's what's going to happen. So, well, flying bus driver, we can meet. I'd love to meet your spouse. She'll probably think I'm a bit on the lunatical, the lunatic fringe. But yeah, I'd love to do that. Wow, Lawrence Demina going to an investors conference. NVIDIA and Microsoft will be there. Yeah, find out. I think I feel, Rondell, I feel refreshed. I don't know why. There was a private equity panel about asset-backed securities, and I went. That was the final one because I'm interested. Oh my gosh. They turned an uninteresting topic into sheer boredom. I was falling asleep. So they're just basically, they love to tell you how smart they are. Well, it was led by an attorney. They, that's what they do. Um, but anyway, I feel refreshed because I'm away from it, maybe. All right, I got to the end. Jeffrey Fast up to 7. Good for you, Jeffrey. Bravo. I know flying bus driver added it to his position too, so we are probably significantly. I also think who said that I seem refreshed. I also just think it's it's amazing to be back in my dealing with good people. Most people that are of a certain age know me. The rest, they're younger. You have, but everybody's in good spirits. It's not like being on these lives where the gremlins come in and attack. So that's a nice thing too. Um, I took a picture of something. Let me see what it was that I would share. I can't even remember what it was. Um, mm, Please come to Boston. She just said, no, boy, why don't you come home to me? You're a rambling man, you better settle down. LA ain't your kind of town. Was this it? Let me see if that was it. This doesn't look like it's all that earth shattering. Let me see what it says. President Donald Trump met with Vladimir Putin. Oh, I see what I'm doing there. I'm trying to pick out the neocons. Anyway, we don't have to talk about that. I guess I didn't have something more interesting to show you. Let me check the. Just go down the schedule and see if anything comes to mind to talk about. I missed Monday morning pretty much. I would have liked to have seen EOG, but you know, and then they had a panel at 10 o'clock. I wish I had gotten to. They had APA Corporation, uh, which I really like, but it's all right. I mean, you can't remember if after you see 4 or 5 of them, you can't remember anything anyway. There's this company, Recon Africa. Recon Africa. I remember them for the last 2 years. Amazing company. They're in uh, Nambia, and they've just expanded into Angola. But uh, Africa's going to have some oil. And what I like about this company is they actually care about the people. They're not like Chevron or some of these other stories you hear about. And Chevron's a good company, by the way, but um, he's actually in there drilling water wells for, he said in the cities there's plenty of wealth, but out in the rural areas, they don't even have potable water. And women have to walk down to the river and carry it back. So he's drilling water wells in the villages, and he for the first time in their history, people can turn the tap and get fresh, clean water. I love that. I love that they're doing that. Um, Ring Energy I'd missed. Um, no, actually, I saw Ring Energy. I saw Ring Energy. Ring Energy, by the way, had a lot of cross population with Torchlight, and so I got to know uh, a lot about the Ring story. I also tried to finance a bid on some of the properties they were spinning off, but that's all yesterday. It's an interesting story. Then there was this company in the Permian Basin that was very interesting. There was a royalty company that was interesting, just and a couple more. Nothing really to say. Um, then we had a very large gathering at Haynes Boone, and I'd say it was 500, 600 people. I met my friend from Roth Capital there. That was good to see him. He's not convinced about the short story. He quickly ended our we stood together for about 40 minutes, but as soon as I brought up short selling, he had to go. The next day, a bunch of companies. Mock Natural Resources. Yeah, that was the CEO from Williams. Guy's so young, so young. It was interesting. Yeah, I missed some of the presentations that afternoon because I was out in the lobby, schmoozing. And you learn a lot more schmoozing than you do listening to a PowerPoint. And then today, it was a bunch of private companies. And the first one, they don't even give the name, but it was a good one. I hope I wrote it down. All I wrote down was great idea. Well, I can track it down. I already gave you some feedback on those. And we had a private capital panel before lunch, which was actually more interesting than the private capital panel after lunch. And the keynote speaker at lunch was this new technology, I guess, for nuclear power plants. I'm telling you, humanity is going pell-mell toward it. But anyway, that was it. Let me see if there's any comments. Does Railtown in the Canadian market have as many shorts? Well, I think so. There's a group out of Canada called Save Canadian Mining, and it's all about fighting the shorts. And I'm gonna call into. I'm gonna try to get one of the guys. I'm not gonna say it out loud, but I'm gonna see if I can get a pretty important person to do an interview with me. But yeah, they do short all these Canadian companies. I'm not sure that it's as I don't know what the word is. I'm not sure it's as coordinated where it's the destruction of the market, the theft of the market cap of every over-the-counter company. I asked several. There were a couple of guys. One young guy just before. Well, everybody's young to me. CEO of a company. He's raising money, and then he wants to list. I said, "Where? NASDAQ." I said, "Why?" But you can't convince these guys that the NASDAQ is dangerous. I just think it's dangerous. Um, it used to be great. And that's why I get so frustrated with Adina Friedman. She's just living off of the reputation of the previous NASDAQ. There's one company um, who is going to, I'm trying to remember which one. They're raising money, but then they're going to, they call it pre-money. Then they're going to IPO, but it's going to be New York Stock Exchange. Let's see what Ward has to say. Good evening, William. It will be a great day tomorrow to buy some more shares at 53 cents. Exactly. One of these days, Ward, one of these days, you're not going to be able to buy it at 50 cents or 60 cents or 70 cents. Frankly, I wouldn't be surprised, depending on, look, I don't know what will be involved in an announcement, but if they were to announce that acquisition is completed, what you would want to see, if possible, in that announcement is at least some color on, and maybe projections on what revenue is going to be, how fast it's going to grow, how are they going to roll up, all those, how the roll up the revenue, so that we could make a calculation. Well, if revenue's coming at this, it's going to grow to that, and it's going to keep growing, and and what's the addressable market, and they're going to, whatever. You could see the stock, in my opinion, I think it could be $1.25 and completely skip giving you a chance to buy it at $1. I'm probably being dramatic, but one of the messages I've tried to make is, as this stock goes up, I don't think you'll be able to buy volume like you're buying now. Where's these two gentlemen today? Jeffrey Fast is up to 17,182 shares. I'm not sure if the stock were to trade at 90 cents, $1.10, I'm not sure you could even buy 17,000 shares. Now that blonde, platinum blonde, well, that doesn't make sense to me. Well, she doesn't know. She doesn't know. So let's not pick on her, but she just doesn't know. I could be wrong. Those shorts could be in there pretty heavily still there, but at some point, I don't think there's going to be a lot of phantom shares to buy. So that's why, even though it doesn't, maybe it might not feel good, now's the time to buy Railtown, because they're giving you shares. You can buy it in size. I think the price is suppressed by the shorting, but it's also in a limbo because they haven't finalized that deal. And normally, in most situation time, I had he's a very good friend of mine, but he also was a client of mine for years. And he's a bit of a computer guy, and he'd show me charts back when charts weren't as prevalent as they are now. But I'm sure other people say it, but I was in LA, I think, visiting him, and it stuck in my head what he said. He was showing it, and he said something like, time kills the trade, or kills all trades. Lots of times time is indication of trouble. I don't think that's what's going on here with Railtown at all. In fact, I think if there were, just to repeat myself, I think if there had been trouble with Railtown, we'd already know it. It would have been announced. So I actually think the more likely interpretation is whatever they're doing is involving a lot of attorneys and a lot of decision makers, probably a lot of different signatures, a lot of it's just probably more complicated than a guy criticizing from the peanut gallery uh, should make it, you know. Colby, next time I'm in Louisiana, I'd enjoy visiting with you. Yeah, I met Monday night. I met a geologist from Louisiana, Baton Rouge, maybe, and he had a project and wants me to raise money. And yeah, I like Louisiana. You're in Beau Bridge, 45 minutes from Baton Rouge. Ah, Baton Rouge, and you work in Lafayette. Yeah, there are a lot of oil and gas companies, and yeah, I might be there. I might be there. Um, it's an incredible. I don't know if it's just this conference, but oil and gas. The last time I experienced that kind of comradeship, although there are women and there are on Wall Street, was at the various Wall Street firms. I understand Wall Street's changed completely, but a lot of good people, Colby, and I'm sure down in Louisiana. I remember when I was much younger, I was invited on a. They have those things in Louisiana that kind of hover in the marshes, and you get on them, and they take you to the rig, and that we did that. And then they had a big crawdaddy bake-off or something. But anyway, all the analysts, a bunch of investors, and I was invited too. And what I remember about that trip in Louisiana is these massive mansions. People that we drive down the highway or whatever it was called, the roads, and you'd look, there'd be, you know, marsh and kind of run down. All of a sudden, there's these huge mansions with all green grass and trees. And what happened is oil and oil royalties, and a lot of wealth was created. Airboat, yeah, airboat. That's what it was, airboat. I showed up um, wearing dress shoes. I didn't even wear like an idiot. I didn't even, or maybe I had tennis shoes on or something, but I didn't have boots. They made fun of me. All right, it's 4:45. I guess I'll go to 5 o'clock. I'll just repeat that I think if you're in Railtown, thinking of buying Railtown, just buy it, hang on to it, add to it. I believe, of course, it's opinion, but I believe you're going to be extremely well rewarded. And it could happen any day, any week. But if you have in your framework that we have to wait, let's say to September 15th, then we don't have to be tense every day. And if Railtown does what I think it's going to do, which is basically 10x, and I'm willing to say it'll 10x on anything you buy up to 75 cents. I don't know why I stopped there. It'll probably 10x on anything you buy up to $1. But from around here, it'll 10x, I think, once the merger happens. And then as the thought process and the projections get out there, you know, will it be one day? Will it be a week? Will it be a month? 6 weeks? I'm not quite sure, of course. No one knows. But what I do know is there's a lot of pent-up demand out there for AI companies, and I think for Railtown specifically, and maybe AI partners specifically. And as that information comes out, and these moneyed and knowledgeable investors, whether it's human beings or institutions, which I guess are human beings, I think you're going to see a 10x. And the tricky part is that these hot money guys, they'll come on and say, hey, that's a win for retail. And I've got this idea. I've got that idea. By the way, I know I snapped at a good guy 3 or 4 days ago, but his stock, that stock he wanted people to get into from H.C. Wainwright, it went down 90 cents or something. I'm not saying it won't work, but it's just a distraction. I want to get you guys out of these shite stocks. I just attended this conference. Hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars are coming into oil and gas. They're not going into small public traded stocks. Why? Because they want to control the value proposition, how it's spent. They are spending $100 million, $1 billion, but they're getting the team, they're setting up the private company, and then they fund it. They go out and create. They take the 10x that I've offered people, but when blood's on the street, there's a reason for that. People don't want to invest, and they're taking that, and then they're going to show it to your broker, and she'll put it in an ETF or a retirement managed account or something. But these guys in between, and there's some women, it's mostly men, but there are some women, they're getting that bump up in value. And what I would like to suggest to you, if Railtown does do 10x, I'll try to be there. I'll try to talk about it and analyze it. But I don't think that's the time to sell that stock. I really don't. I think that'll be the starting point. As Brandon put it, we're in idle, and then we can put it into gear and hit the gas pedal. That time frame where we come out of neutral and go quickly into the afterburner is probably starting from $5 or $6, not starting from here. That's the hardest thing to get across. Now, there are risks, and we got to pay attention to those, and there's a lot of information we have to process. But that's the way I see it right now. I think Railtown will be a $25 stock fairly quickly. I'm not saying it's going to happen in a month. You might have to wait 6 months, 9 months, a year. But boy, can you imagine buying a stock at 50 cents? And all we got to do is wait, and it goes to $25. It might go to $50. But getting out at $5 because it's a win for retail, so you can go over into, I can just give you these names. They all suck. And it's not maybe because the people telling you about it aren't well-meaning, but you don't know if they are or not. It's just not where the big money's going. Big money is not going here. So let's not work. It's easier if you get in front of the big money. And it's so frustrating watching these 35-year-olds all funded coming in with private equity, just like I predicted. And it would have been so easy to be in some of those plays and then flipping the asset, collecting an override. But anyway, you got to start where you are, and there's always plenty of opportunity. And I figure as long as you can get out of debt, treat yourself and your family as if you're your own central bank, and cover your bills, what else do you need other than a puppy dog? What else do you need? And we'll get there. We'll get there. And I think I can show you ways, whether it's by we form a company, or we form a fund, or we form maybe a little private equity thing, but I can show you what I think each of you should be doing, no matter what age you are, is trying to convert assets that are priced in dollars and they show up on your screen as dollars, all these crappy stocks, as I call them, or even in your bank account. I think we should be converting at least some of that into income that is priced off of oil and gas, off of gold and silver, off of something it could be water, it could be an apple orchard, it could be a field of corn. But if there's a change in the financial system, which I think most assuredly is coming, I don't know if it's going to be as quickly as everybody's saying, but when it comes, a readjustment, whatever it is, I mean, they may have a meeting in Shanghai, they may have a meeting in St. Petersburg, or if they're idiots, they'll have it in Bretton Woods again. But they come up with a new financial reset. Well, you don't know that the dollar is going to be worth that much after that reset. So if you have assets in your bank, you have it in CDs, you even in treasuries that are supposedly safe, or you have it in some stocks, you don't know that after that event, that this black and white wealth you're seeing in your account is going to remain. But if you have income that, I mean, just to use an example, one of these royalty trusts that I've told you about, let's use one of the low ones. It's coming in at 8%. Well, that 8%, depending on how much you have invested in it, might give you, I don't know, making it up, $4,000 a month. And right now that pays your rent or your mortgage, your gasoline, your insurances, and you still have a little left over to send to your granddaughter. And it's great. Well, if there's a financial crisis and you're in something else like a 4% CD, not only could the principal plummet in real terms, but that 4% might not be that valuable either. But if you're in something that's based on, let's just stick with the example on oil, and it's giving you $4,000 a month now, and that $4,000 buys your housing, your auto, your insurances, and some gift money that you can share or whatever. Well, if there's a big reset, there's no way of knowing that the normal assets will survive intact. But if the dollar gets changed, if everything becomes new, the fact is the income, the oil income, however it's called, will have the same purchasing power or similar, maybe better. $4,000 a month now will, whatever the new iteration of the price of oil, will still give you $4,000 a month in purchasing power, where you don't know that off of CDs. That $4,000 might only in real purchasing power be worth $400 a month. I know I'm going on that, but I think that's one thing I'll be pushing for, is trying to shift, after you pay off some debt, after you make other commitments, silver, platinum, like John said. Well, Ward, I have, okay, it's got 3 minutes. I can probably go a little longer, but Ward, I happen to agree with you. And that's something you just have to take a stand on. Uh, the headlines and the boo birds are saying, oh, uh, AI is like the .com bomb and it's getting mania and it's getting ahead of it, which all may end up happening, and maybe some of the multiples don't make sense. But I agree with you. I don't think we're at the end of AI. Maybe we're at the end of AI 1.0, but AI 2.0, I don't think has even begun, or it has begun, but it hasn't began. It began, but it hasn't begun. I'm not going to quote the Winston Churchill quote. Everybody quotes it now. But basically, I think we're in the early stages of AI 2.0. And I actually think you're right, Ward, that AI can survive. It may be one of the assets that survives the panic. Why? Because it's actually adding value to the productive process in industry after industry. So I happen to agree with you. I also think we have my window on AI for the big multiples, 18 months, maybe, you know, maybe less than that. Maybe 15, let's say to the end of next year. But it might get truncated if there's a crash in the market. So let's be on the alert for what goes on. Hey, Red Pepper Ronnie. How are you doing? Let's see, Northeast Iowa. Northeast Iowa says our portfolio is going to be looking really good when the corn comes in. When Railtown goes, control and patience is going to be needed at our points. Our instinct will be, yeah, that's what I'm going to try to fight. Everybody's going to say, God, we got it. That's the win. But that's going to be the hard thing. Sometimes, you just got to hold on. There's people that sold it. You know that guy from SoftBank? What was his name? Was his name Ma? But anyway, he hit it big. So he raised all this money. Saudis gave him a bunch of money, and he invested in everything. One of the stocks he invested in was NVIDIA. And you probably know the story better than I do because I don't know it very well. But he got in pressure and trouble. He sold NVIDIA. And I think he lost control of SoftBank. So he was, I believe, the world's wealthiest guy for a while. And then he lost it. But if he had just held on to NVIDIA, he'd still be in the game. And so sometimes the decision is just not doing anything. But having said that, I do want to emphasize that collective thinking can go way out to an edge. So, I mean, there'll be at some point, there's some price point where it makes sense to liquidate. I met with a guy last night, and he pointed out to me, he was an accountant, but he built an oil company, and everybody trusts him. He lives in Midland, but he said he was talking to me about IDCs and tax hedges, I guess, and I said, well, what can you do? Can you use that for capital gains? And he said, well, Bill, Capital gains about the best. That's the best tax deal you're going to get. So in other words, pay your capital gain, long-term capital gain, because that's about the best deal you're ever going to get. So hopefully Railtown, if it gives the signal that we need to act, it'll be after long-term capital gains, period, you know. And I think for the first time I started talking to you guys about Railtown, and I'd have to look again, I envy your big positions, but I kind of have a feeling the first stock I bought was in October. I'd have to look it up. But anyway, it's in my, I have a little bit outside, but most of it's in my IRA. So it probably doesn't matter anyway in my case. But anyway, what else is going on? Did Texas redistrict? Let's see. Bed Bath & Beyond is closing in California. The Texas redistricting map passes the House. That's good news for the midterms. All right, so one more minute and I probably have to hang up. I don't know. We'll see if there's any questions. It's 5:05. I've got to go meet this guy. I know a guy. You know a guy. I wish I'd taken a nap, but I'm not going to do that. I don't have to end right at 5:05, but I'm running out of things to say. And this is not giving me any kind of update. I don't know why. It's annoying. It was just working. Now it's not working. Anyway, I don't know what else to talk about, but I like your point, Northeast Iowa. If there's 10x in this stock, the fast money guys are going to come to you with the next. Oh, I wanted to talk to you about energy storage. One of the companies that presented today, I forget the name of it, but I think I just talked to the CEO before I came over. Just an amazing idea. There's a lot of wells that get plugged and abandoned. So it's a well that reaches its economic life, at least at current prices. So the industry goes in, they clean it, do an environmental cleaning, but then they go plug it, concrete, I think, and abandon it. And you can't go re-enter that well. It's just gone. It's off the resource plate. Well, this guy has the idea of, instead of plugging the wells, you do plug them, but it's recoverable. You can pull it out somehow. But so that if oil prices go higher, someday you could re-enter the well and produce. But more importantly, this is his idea. And by the way, it wasn't the only company that talked about energy storage. So I guess I'm trying to point out to you that Energy Vault is probably not a place to put your money because it's such a small player. But anyway, this company has this idea. You take these old wells that go down for 1 or 2 miles, you plug them, you clean them, And then you put water in the well, but you also put this weight, I don't know what you call it, so that, I got to get this right, when you need electricity, you let the weight go down slowly in the well and it turns the turbine. So it's producing electricity. And then you, I believe I got it in the right direction. At the bottom, you can just stop until, let's say, in the middle of the night, there's extra electricity. This is a way of adding electricity and when the air conditioning load gets high and etc. So then you can use cheap electricity at nighttime to lift that weight back up, and it's sitting there ready to go again. It's what they do with hydroelectric dams all the time. But he said there's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of wells you could do this in, and you could build energy storage that way. Very interesting. America is incredible. And particularly in the oil and gas industry, the ideas and the creativity, um, the problem solving, but all of it's undermined by Adina Friedman's NASDAQ and Cromwell, Chuck E. Cheese's, Colson's over the counter. And I've got to figure out how to get that message somewhere, like Trump maybe. Hey, Pat, I'm going to go home on Friday. I won't tell you the exact time so I can make the flight, but I it's not early Friday, it's later Friday, but yeah, I go home Friday. Um, yeah, that's when I go. Hey, Donna. I don't know why my Wi-Fi isn't working. So anyway, it's 5:10. If there's a question or two, I'll stay to 5:15. Otherwise, I might just sign out. I just wanted to come back in. I wasn't not talking to you because there's something wrong at Railtown. I've just been swamped, and the only time I've come back to talk, and I took a nap instead. Today I didn't take a nap, but I talked to you. I'll try tomorrow, maybe later I can do a long live, and maybe I can do one Friday morning as well. And maybe I can find a place outside, or something a little more interesting than a hotel room. But I don't see any questions, so I might call it there. 5:11. Today is Wednesday, so if nothing happens tomorrow, my guess it'll be next week at the soonest, and that's pretty close to September. So I'm glad that we've shifted into not being anxious every single day. And I like Ward's point that it gives us a chance to buy more stock at 53 cents. Hey, Pat M. Yeah, it'll be good to see you my own way next week as well. And maybe if with luck, next week will be, exciting. So with that, I'm just gonna sign off unless if something pops up, I'll stay. But otherwise, just thank everybody for tuning in. I remain my strategy on Railtown: buy all you can, hold all you can, add all you can, and I think the reward will be significant. And I think the first stage of that reward will be soon. So I wish everybody peace. And this hotel I'm staying in, they allow dogs, and they had a list of names of dogs. There were 10 of them when I checked in. Yesterday, there were two. I go down and I look for dogs. There's never a dog. So I hope you're able to find a dog to say hi to, and they wag their tail at you. Until tomorrow, maybe. But if I don't come on tomorrow, it's just because I'm busy. I think I'll be able to do something Friday morning. Uh, and so until then, peace. Peace to each of you.